Will Aaron Rodgers accept this rose? That's the question.
Yes, it is.
From Robert Kennedy Jr. He is scheduled to make his VP running mate announcement on March 26th in Oakland. And according to the New York Times, not just being considered, Rodgers is reportedly at the top of the list. And, Chad, here we go with the over-the-top and crazy presidential election that's coming up later this year. At first reaction yesterday, I'm thinking, come on, no way. This is the headline grab, right? But it's totally plausible given the state of where we are with all of this.
Look, I hear Kamala Harris speak, and I rethink the institution of the vice presidential office of the United States,
right,
and just how good or smart someone needs to be in order to get to that point. I think at one point, Dan Quell failed to spell potato correctly also. So, look, if HBO is going to satirize the entire office with the show like Veep, which is one of my all-time favorites, I understand that, being vice president of the United States is not the highest office in the land. And sometimes it's a reason for jokes when you see some people who have been vice president in the past. I think Aaron Rodgers is very smart. I think Aaron Rodgers would by far be a better vice president than Kamala Harris. I think Aaron Rodgers is far more intelligent than Kamala Harris. All Kamala Harris has is a career in politics that Aaron Rodgers does not have. But this is beside the point of whether or not Aaron Rodgers would be a good vice president or not, because we know a third-party independent is not going to win the presidency. It's going to be a Republican or a Democrat that sits in the Oval Office. This whole question, this whole dilemma of will Aaron Rodgers be Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s running mate in the election has me questioning everything about what it means to be an NFL quarterback for the New York Jets and what it means to run for vice president. Guys, this is crazy. This is completely insane that we are even discussing the possibility of Aaron Rodgers being allowed and able to run for vice president of these United States while also successfully performing his job as the quarterback of the New York Jets of the American Football Conference in the National Football League. This is insane. This is crazy. And I love it. I'm here for it. I love looking at possible schedules and what the Jets could allow him to do on the campaign trail, what they're not going to allow him to do. This is so crazy to even think about that I've even looked it up. And the first vice presidential debate, that you cannot make this stuff up, is September 25th at Lafayette College, 1 hour from Florham Park, 1 hour from the Jets facility. Could Aaron Rodgers drive up the road to Lafayette College and be in a debate with other vice presidential candidates and then get right back that night and be right there the next morning watching film, practicing, getting the Jets ready for their next game? I would say hell no. That's not a possibility. But this whole story has broken my brain to the possibilities of anything happening, Hutton. I love it so much. I don't see how it's going to happen. I don't know how they could pull this off. And Aaron Rodgers, who said we need to get all the BS out of the building that's not about winning, can actually sell this to his teammates, that this is something that's about winning and not about something he wants to do that's separate of the football team. But I'm here for all the drama. I love it. I hope that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. names him as his running mate, and we get to cover this campaign and this Jets football season simultaneously. The possibilities are endless.
And he's one step away from the presidency. That's what that office is.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, so is Kamala.
That's true.
And
Aaron
by the way,
Rodgers is
September 25th
smart.
is a Wednesday. So
it is a Wednesday.
To what you're saying, yeah. I was like, is that possibly on a Monday where they could have Monday Night Football?
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah. The whole thing is nuts. But so is this. So is this. So is this.
Oh, never mind. We're not live.
So is this whole thing.
Yeah, we'll edit that out.
We can edit that out.
Please edit that out.
Yeah, we don't want to get flagged.
Colin, edit that part out.
Yes.
KennedyRogers.com
KennedyRogers.com is already taken as well.
Oh, my
Chad,
gosh.
in case you're wondering.
It's hilarious.
March 26th.
I mean, is this not just hilarious to anyone else other than me? Like, I'm reading the New York
just shake
Times
my head
story,
at
and
it,
I'm
man.
reading it like it's, this is a real story? And I'm like, this is satire, right?
Well,
I've heard for years that to be a quarterback in the NFL, it requires total focus. We had a conversation yesterday that Hutton brought up, and by the way, logically so, that the Jags don't want Trevor Lawrence to spend time with his family.
no,
Because he's not focused
that his wife
on
is
the
too
team.
demanding. Again,
But his wife is too demanding of his time,
not
right?
just that was a report. It's just what people are talking about behind the
Yeah,
scenes.
well, you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
Like, that's just an example of what it takes to win in the National Football League. Tom Brady got a divorce from one of the top supermodels in the history of supermodels in order to play football again, because the focus and time it takes to play quarterback in the NFL. And Aaron Rodgers, we're going to believe, is going to be okay running for vice president and campaigning and doing debates and everything else while also being the quarterback of the New York Jets. It's hilarious.
I mean, but it's
hilarious.
My grandfather couldn't drive when just 10 years before he passed away because of his age. But you can be president at 80 years old.
Well, look, anything's possible in America today.
The whole thing is just a laughable deal, to be honest.
Also, yeah, it is. But we are a sports
he's
show.
younger.
We're a sports show first and foremost.
Right.
All right. Let's talk about the football part of this
Well,
for the New York Jets.
yep.
Well, hold on. Woody Johnson, ambassador for Donald Trump to the United Kingdom, has already thrown his hat in the ring for Donald Trump as president. One of the most outspoken Trump supporters, and I think most of them are, honestly, of NFL owners. He's going to be okay with his biggest investment, his quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, and everything he's paying him to just take time away to go on the campaign trail with Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? Look, I try to see this from all perspectives. And if I'm Woody Johnson, it's not even the political part of it that I'm opposed to Aaron Rodgers winning and his running mate winning, if I'm Woody Johnson, which he has outspokenly said he is because he wants Donald Trump to win. Why would you ever allow that?
Well, I mean,
why would you ever allow that if you're an NFL owner?
He wouldn't have to go on the campaign trail in order to campaign based on the media coverage of this. You could be two places at once, and Rodgers will be everywhere with the campaign idea there. He could still go on depending on the day, the Mondays, whatever. I mean, but he could still do it, I guess. But keep in mind, he's got the whole contract with the Jets is, the guaranteed money is insane. So yeah, he's got to be okay with it. They're all in with him for the team.
But like, there's no breach of contract here. Like, what contract did Aaron Rodgers sign? Again, I'm not trying to be company man here, but let's honestly ask the question. What possible contract could Aaron Rodgers sign with that much guaranteed money that would also allow him to take any headspace or time to run for vice president of the United States while also playing quarterback for the New York Jets? That would seem to be a violation of a contract that pays someone millions and millions of dollars to do both at the same time.
He's already hit the option bonus for $35 million this year, and he has another base salary that's also fully guaranteed this year, and in 2025 there's no voidable year for them. There's no voidable year in his 7-year contract that he restructured whenever he went to New York. So he's got this contract set up with a base salary of $20 million per year from 2026 to 2029. And then he's got all this cash headed his way. If he retires after 2 years, if he's released so he can continue to follow the Favre career when he goes somewhere else, $49 million is what the Jets would have at a cap charge if he retires. That's also part of it too. $35 million in 2026 is what he'll get.
Look, I'm here for it. I'm not an Aaron Rodgers hater.
He's the OC. He's the head coach. He's got the locker room.
He's the vice president apparently too. Like, he's everything.
But I'm saying contractually, based on what they're giving him.
We are insane. Sports are insane. If there is an owner out there that's a billionaire that gives a contract to someone that allows them to also run for vice president without any financial penalty when you're paying them millions of dollars, is crazy to me. Crazy talk.
But he's also Johnson & Johnson, and you had Rodgers who didn't. It was anti-vax. Like the whole thing is interesting just from that perspective.
Okay,
they brought
and
him in.
yeah, that's
And
whatever. But I'm saying if the
New York
Johnson
media
Johnson
was going to crush him, which is a BS.
Well, if the Johnson & Johnson COO, who probably makes, I don't know, $5 to $7 million a year, let's say, is paid by Woody
Probably
Johnson
more.
to do that, and then he decides, hey, I also want to spend time running this nonprofit on the side that's going to take up a lot of my time,
Right.
and it's a very important job. I'm going to do that too, and my contract allows me to do it. I just don't think that would exist in the free market economy. I just don't think that it would, but maybe this story has thrown a wrench in everything I've ever believed about what it means to be an NFL quarterback, a starting NFL quarterback, and what it means to be vice president. Both have been lowered in my expectation pool if this actually is allowed to happen. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I think Aaron Rodgers is a smart guy. I want to see the drama of all of this taking place. I'd love for him to be named the vice presidential running mate, but come on.
Imagine the debates.
I mean, if he wins,
well, you have the VP debates.
If he wins with the Jets, if he has an MVP caliber year, and he's going to debates on Wednesday night at Lafayette College, and he's running and he's doing social media campaigns and all of this, and he gets Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in the running for president, I mean, game over.
And the votes he would take away,
is he the greatest quarterback of all time, just based on that one season? I mean, Tom
Hub
Brady.
Arkush would vote for him.
Tom Brady, he can't do anything but play football when the season's going on. I mean, this guy is running for vice president and winning ball games for the New York Jets. I got to cast my ballot as the GOAT of football if Aaron Rodgers is able to pull all this off. Simultaneously, by the way.
Yeah, it did. I mean,
what an insane story. I love it.
Already the Hall of Fame career.
And I love it.
How about Kyle Fellows on Twitter, who tweeted this in 2023, April of last year, whenever Rodgers became a New York Jet. Packer Pundit is his social. Jets fans going to be big mad when Rodgers doesn't play in 2024 so he can be Robert Kennedy's running mate. How about that? Dropping that call your shot.
Well, he's been a huge Robert F. Kennedy Jr. supporter for a long time. So
he's hiking with him last month.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't. But what? I don't know.
He's at the top of the list.
If Woody Johnson comes in and says, "Hey, you can run for vice president or you can play quarterback for the Jets," pick one.
I don't think he will, though.
What's Aaron Rodgers going to pick?
Well, it's either Rodgers or was it Jesse Ventura that was specifically mentioned as well?
Yeah, those are the only two who are saying yes. I went back and read the full New York Times report. Tulsi Gabbard, Rand Paul, others were approached. Andrew Yang, and the only two in the report that are liking the overtures from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. are Jesse the Body Ventura and Aaron Rodgers. They're all in. They're ready to go.
How about just going back to that photo, on the tweet itself from Kennedy, he said hanging out with Rodgers and his amazing Achilles was the text on that.
Yeah.
His amazing Achilles.
Untainted by any vaccine, that Achilles.
Right.
That's why it's so strong.
It's going to be able to play at the end of the year had it mattered. Yeah.
I mean, incredible story. I want more just morsels of this story every day on the show so we can react to it.
This would be, well, again, March 26th is when he'll make his announcement. It's like the LeBron announcement.
Going to wait for the smoke to appear.
Rodgers is taking his talents one way or the other.
It's going to be Jesse the Body Ventura on a balloon floating up or Aaron Rodgers' face floating up.
Imagine the reaction in the Jets locker room because we saw it live on the fourth snap where he tore his Achilles. And just like losing season, just deflated.
I know Sauce Gardner had something to say on Twitter about it too.
Yeah,
who's always funny on Twitter, on X. Sorry.
But then think about if you're trying to run it back and you're like an offensive tackle away from feeling like you've got everything set, and then you have Rodgers who becomes a vice presidential nominee. It is like I would love to know, are you kidding me? Like the reaction inside the organization, just knowing that everybody's job's on the line. Based on if Rodgers comes back and stays healthy. If not, Robert Saleh's going to be fired. All of them. Joe Douglas.
What's the bigger distraction? Travis Kelce dating Taylor Swift or Aaron Rodgers running for vice president in the same season? They
it
both
would be,
probably get one gets more media attention than the other, and that's Travis Kelce. I would argue.
Yes. Well, but in this case, it's at least the political angle of it would have some divisive qualities. Not qualities, but
Well,
whatever.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers is already there.
But
he is divided so
well,
many
but he
people.
would be saying things in real time that everybody else would have to react or would be asked about.
You said this in the debate
that's
at
what the New York
Lafayette
media,
College,
imagine
and
the New
now
York
let's
media there. Yeah,
respond.
right, exactly. But then the teammates would have to answer to it, right? Whether or not you agree or disagree.
Oh, gosh.
But
I didn't even think about that.
yeah, but like no one's really. Hey, what do you think about Taylor Swift? No one's like, yeah, I hate her.
Yeah.
No one's
when
no one's
the
saying that.
New York media comes up and Aaron Rodgers claimed that anyone who got a vaccine is a dumb sheep. Would you like to respond to that, Sauce Gardner? Here.
Yeah.
That part of it is going to be interesting.
How about Sauce Gardner here? Aaron about to become the VP. That's why he ain't answering my text messages.
It's like just like Russell Wilson. Can't even get a phone number to give a text message.
Is he at the darkness retreat right now, Rodgers? Do we know?
I don't think he.
Is that why he's
is
not
he
answering?
like on
This is
his
normally,
phone often? I don't.
It's normally when he's on his phone enough to text back Adam Schefter. Remember that?
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah, he did see that.
Yeah. So, this is normally the time of year when he does that, right?
Well, he did it one time, but yeah, it was around this time
he
last
claims
year.
that it's so great that he was,
I think he was
ayahuasca
just
and
at
all
I think he was at the nexus of his career. He decided that was the time to do it. This could be another one
but he
that's
came out
worthy
seeing
of a
green.
darkness retreat.
He came out seeing green. Remember?
Yeah, but
miraculously.
this could be now. He could be seeing.
The White House.
What's the color for the Independent Party? I know red and blue. Red,
Beige.
Republican, blue, Democrat.
Beige.
Is it
Gray.
Is it the color of Hutton's
Is it gray?
shirt? Brown? I don't know.
Yeah,
Green? Could be green. See the Green Party? Wasn't the Green Party a thing also? I think it was. Yeah.
Here we go.
Look, it's going to force me to follow politics a lot more if Aaron Rodgers is running for vice president. So bring it on. Let's do it.
And bring on the tournament and the NFL free agency news, which we've been getting. Thank God for the tournament that's about to tip off.
Well, thank God for this Aaron Rodgers story too.
Well, the Rodgers news is good, but beyond that, like all the NIL and the money and we're about to get into Trev Alberts, who's bolting his alma mater for Texas A&M. Like all of the off the field and off the court news that just comes down to the political game, the money game, the negotiating game, and who's really running things behind the scenes. At least we get back to what it's about with the escape of March Madness, Chad. This is what we're here for. And, you have the one shiny moment, which I despise actually, at the end of the tournament, which is the way it's played up so much. But the aspect of what the sport is about and the best tournament period in sports, sign me up. Let me escape from all of the clickbait stuff that's always out there, and at least we get to talk about the 16 beating the 1, or whether or not a coach has got to be at a certain level moving forward to keep his job, which Kenny Payne was unable to do. But Chad, I know you're on board with this. The tournament itself is always at the perfect time, and in this case, it couldn't come soon enough.
No, I'm totally on board with it. And I was talking with Colin before the show about this. I think this week is the most, not for every fan base, but I think it's the most pure fun with conference tournament and conference championship week because the stakes are up so much a week from now when it is the end of your season. If you come out and play bad in one night, one game, and your season ends. So the stress level is so much higher for every team next week. Not to say that, hey, teams that have to win 2 or 3 games in the tournament to get into the NCAA tournament aren't under stress also. They are.
Yep.
But I think this is the best pure moment of college basketball this week. And as I mentioned yesterday, we get all these smaller conference championship games where they get to punch their ticket directly.
Speaking of the money and why I can't wait for the tournament to actually get here, part of the reason why these schools are crying poor, it's not because they're paying players, they're paying coaches to leave. Chad, Kenny Payne, who surely it's not a headline that he was getting fired. It's not. Like the reports that he was going to be fired as soon as they got back to Louisville, no shock. It should be the headline that they're paying him $8 million. That's what they owe him now to fire him on this 6-year contract that didn't come close to actually playing itself out. 8-24 this year, 12-52 overall. And he's getting paid $8 million on the buyout to GTFO. This is what's wrong with college athletics. This is the structure in the system that they're not pointing to as to why the whole system is garbage. Why they have to go and say that they need to structure something from name, image, likeness, and the transfer portal to keep the budget where it is. The budget is failing because of the coaches are paid to fail. And I can't think of a better example than this atrocity that has taken place from someone that knew Louisville very well and was awful at coaching Louisville. So awful that he's getting an $8 million buyout, Chad. What are we doing here? If there is no better example of what's wrong with the structure of contracts in college than Payne's contract right now based on results. Paid to fail instead of succeed. If you fail this bad, how in the world are you getting $8 million?
Yeah, the contract situation, the agents have won. Not just
crazy,
the battle
man.
has been won, the war has been won. Agents have won for their clients, and the schools are losing badly. And college sports is losing for this too. Kenny Payne yesterday was asked after his Louisville team lost, season ended, to kind of defend his job. Why do you deserve a third year? And Kenny Payne had this to say. For me, I go back to day one. When I walked into the program as the new head coach, I talked about I needed everybody on the same page. We sort of forgot that. I talked about how I'm not going to let you blame me. I'm not standing up here by myself. I need all of Louisville with me. We sort of forgot that. I talked about it's going to take time, and I'm going to watch and see who jumped on and off the Titanic. We sort of forgot that. I gave a specific time. I said 3 or 4 years, and I'm good with that. That's what I believed at the time, and that's what I still believe it takes to fix this program. People forgot that, Kenny, because you lost to Bellarmine and Kentucky Wesleyan. I'm sorry if you expected everyone to just stand right there behind you when your inept coaching was costing a very proud and historically really good program to lose to Division II teams and to win one game away from home in 2 years as head coach at Louisville. That is unacceptable, especially in a transfer portal era where you can change your team quickly. Completely unacceptable for Kenny Payne. I don't want to hear about people forgot this and forgot that. And I told them, you're not going to blame me for it. We're all standing here together. We're all in this together. I mean, come on, man.
Well,
give me a break. Like, this was one of the worst coaching tenures in the history of major college basketball that we just witnessed.
And then the worst start in the history of the program. Whenever he took over, they lost to Lenore, I believe it was the college. First game, first time out.
Yeah.
And from there,
Lenore, Rhine, and then this year they lost to Kentucky Wesleyan.
Okay.
But they also, I think they lost to Bellarmine to open the season. Lenore Rhine was a exhibition game.
And here's the thing. This is why what he's saying is hollow. This will be a sought-after job.
Oh, yeah.
Louisville is still there. And that's why they have to. There's no loyalty now. You can't stand by and say, oh, we'll wait on year 3. That's when it's going to get better, especially with the personnel problems, all the recruits that bailed. You've got what was the assistant coach who was at Louisville, but the recruit went to Kentucky.
Yeah, Milt Wagner.
Yeah, okay.
Who played at Louisville.
You had a 5-star
who is a coach they hired him to come back to Louisville. And DJ Wagner, his son, is a star at Kentucky.
Okay.
Who's probably a one-and-done player.
And then you had, speaking of not even none and done, you had the 5-star recruit that was originally going to Louisville, decided to play pro in Australia.
Yep.
Instead. There are plenty of reasons to point to and says that they weren't facing these issues prior to Payne getting there. You know?
Yeah.
That's why you can't say like, oh, I was going to be here 3 to 4. This was the state of where we. No, it's hard to get worse than where they were, and well, now the new coach comes in as the savior.
I talked to our resident, and you know him as well, Hutton, our resident Louisville basketball insider.
Yes.
And asked who was on the wish list for the next head coach. 2 names came. The one, it's a name we talked a lot about last March, Dusty May at Florida Atlantic. That guy who went to Indiana, was, I think, a graduate assistant in Indiana, just up the road from Louisville. That is going to be the number 1 target. If not, they are likely to hire Josh Schertz, who's the head coach at Indiana State.
Okay.
Currently. So it sounds like it could be an either-or scenario. Dusty May leaves Florida Atlantic this go around and takes this job, or they go up the road to Indiana State and hire Josh
What
Schertz.
did Dusty May turn down last year?
I'm trying to think of who was open last year that he talked to someone, then signed the big contract.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
But decided to stay at Florida Atlantic instead.
Yeah.
And in this case, was it Ole Miss that was one of them? It may have been. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Nonetheless,
I feel like Ole Miss pretty quickly, though, zeroed in on Chris Beard and wanted him from the start.
Well, after he got fired, right?
Yeah. Well, they were just saying, hey, we're fine with all the accusations.
Right, yeah.
We're going to bring you back.
But saying
and I think it's going to work out for them.
Dusty May was all the talk, you're right, last March. And, FAU, you still think of Florida Atlantic if we're describing what was great about the tournament last year.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, what's different? They're not as good.
Yeah, they've been a little bit of a disappointment this year. They're still good. I think they're still an at-large team in the NCAA tournament. But not quite as good with everyone coming back for the most part. I think they lost one guy.
Which is why he wanted to run it back, too.
That was a contributor from last year,
But it's still surprising that he stayed. They're getting a bigger media payout with their new, what is it, I think the American?
Yeah,
AAC.
and look, I don't know what the financial situation is at Louisville given this buyout you talked about with Kenny Payne. They can't afford to go cheap here. So it is a program that generates revenue and that has a good donor base that they can win big. And we've seen it. We know that when Rick Pitino was there. They can win big. They won national titles before that with Denny Crum, too. So they need to go big here.
FAU is included in the tournament that's being proposed and organizers are trying to put together, in-season tournament for college basketball that will focus on the players' era, quote-unquote, where the in-season tournament for the college season taking place over Thanksgiving weekend, hypothetically here, what's in the works. The winning team gets $1 million to distribute through NIL, and they have to use it through name, image, likeness, and with their current team. Every participating school program gets $1 million to show up and play. That would be the same structure where it's distributed through name, image, likeness. The teams that are that Front Office Sports are saying that are in talks with this tournament: Alabama, Duke, FAU, Houston, Kansas, Oregon, San Diego State, St. Joe's, Syracuse, and Virginia. MGM Grand would host this in-season tournament over the Thanksgiving weekend, and I can't help but think about the NBA. The NBA has the in-season tournament where you have players that are pissed off they're getting $500,000 to participate, and in this case, the schools are getting $1 million to show up, $1 million to win. Different structure in the NBA, but we're about to see the NBA have to pay more because you have one small in-season tournament where everybody's going to be clamoring to be a participant here. That's a fantastic incentive at that college level, and I can't help but think that we're going to see more and more of this, especially I'm thinking for the postseason tournaments that now you have schools, Chad, like the CBI, where you have to pay, the teams have to pay to be included and host a game or go on the road. Not for long. Not for long if you're going to have in-season tournaments like this in Vegas.
Yeah, I don't know how any postseason tournament that's not the NCAA is not going to be able to pay.
Yeah. Even NIT, for that matter.
They're not going to be able to pay teams to go, though. So there's no value in that.
Well, I don't know why programs would pay to go, though.
No, I understand what you're saying there. The value is getting these top-notch programs in November to you instead of Maui or wherever else they would go.
Right.
So that's why there's going to be a payout.
What was Tennessee paid to go to Maui?
No idea.
Okay.
No idea. I don't know that they're paid. I don't know how that works. You get an invite. I'm sure they pay you something, but I bet they paid money to go. Is my guess. In the end, they lost money. And
the players certainly weren't
when
paid.
they went to Maui. The players weren't paid.
Keep in mind the program here, it would have to go through NIL.
And it would go straight to the players, away from the program.
But the program gets to decide how it's distributed. That's also key here. So you could distribute more money to certain players if you wanted to, but the money has to go to the players on the current team, which is intriguing there. And so that's a huge, I would think, recruiting tool. On top of what you're already getting to play for the program for a year or two, whatever, you can come back and not just, if you participate in the tournament, we're going to give you X amount percentage. And if we win, you're going to get this. That's a bonus. That's crazy.
I think it's awesome.
And this is the floor. we're talking about. The
Yeah,
starting
I mean,
price.
I don't know how this is going to be good business. Ultimately, I look at things from a dollars and cents standpoint. I'm thinking you're going to give $2 million away to players for your November basketball tournament when other tournaments are making money for people to go and they're not spending $2 million. I feel like this could happen once or twice unless someone's just okay with losing a ton of money. And then they come back and say, yeah, it wasn't financially viable for
It's like
us
$11 million for the total.
to do that.
That's what 10 schools are mentioned, and then the winning team gets another $1 million.
That's a lot of money for a November basketball tournament just to pay the players of the school where other places aren't paying anything and getting the same benefit on television or wherever it's being played. Great.
Well, but
I love that they're just handing out millions of dollars to players. But
this is pay for play, is what this is. This is not just name, image, likeness. This is pay for play.
Of course.
But
how does it make sense for the tournament?
But I'm saying pay for play is exactly what the NCAA was getting Tennessee after Tennessee with.
Yeah, and they've stopped now.
But they did attempt that. But the pay is going to the school that then distribute. It's a. We're going to see more of it now because the NCAA has no authority.
Yeah, they can do it, but I don't know why anyone would do it. You're just losing money. Like whoever's throwing this tournament is going to lose a ton of money.
Unless
that's my expectation.
Unless the networks are going to pay for it.
Yeah, but even the networks, like I'd rather have the Maui Invitational, and they're not paying anything, and then the Maui Invitational is making that money for networks. But networks are also I just don't see how someone's going to have to show me the business plan how they're going to turn a profit on this.
Well, the schools
because it's a splashy thing to do, and I think if you're just trying to get wherever this is going to be played, if it's publicity for your casino
MGM.
or your venue or whatever it is, like you're okay having a loss leader that you're going to spend this much money and know you're losing money, but because you want to do it and prove that you can, okay, fine. But ultimately, I don't think companies are going to do this year after year, especially if they answer to a board.
Well, is this
where they have to be financially responsible?
It doesn't mention on just the surface level here that the players' era is the tournament. Who's behind it? Is it the casinos? Is it someone that's investing in that? From the $1 billion level, $11 million is what they're handing out to a punter over a course of whatever on the NFL, right? And then you have the brands. Duke, you have Kansas, Houston and Oregon are involved in this, reportedly. You've got Pitino with his school. You do at Syracuse, Virginia will be there, Bama, and mention FAU. And again, like, what does it cost versus what it could become, and which network is going to go after it? Don't know, but
I think it's a bad business move for whoever does it. But we'll see. Maybe I'm proven wrong. Great for the players, terrible business move. I think you're throwing money away because there are plenty of tournaments that aren't paying players that they're going to go to also. And I would be very leery of the fine print on this if you accept that $2 million or whatever it is payout as a player, that there could be some future negotiation rights involved in it, whether it be player representation or future appearances in Las Vegas or whatever.
But it goes to the school, though. That they would determine. That's what the report.
I know, but I'm saying if the school were to sign up, I'm trying to think of the benefit to the company paying the money to it, and I think they could get them on a loophole with what the players are signing up for that they sign on to as a school by taking that buyout. I just think it's bad business.
Chad, bad business is happening at the executive level, the administrative level, coaching level, whatever. And we're seeing it right now in Nebraska. Trev Alberts, All-American, has his number retired for the football program at Nebraska. Became the athletic director in 2021, I believe. Recently had a salary increase there to over $1 million, and it was $600,000 or $700,000. Now it's 1.4, 1.5. It was because he's taking the job at Texas A&M, leaving Nebraska, where he's beloved, for Texas A&M, and everyone's looking around. You have great connections to Nebraska athletics and family who are diehard fans. What are they saying today with this report, and how stunned are they that a search firm ended up with Trev Alberts at Texas A&M?
They're stunned. And I'm reading this Texac story from our guy, Billy Lucci, and his company. Received a new contract through 2031. It raised his salary from $800,000 to $1.7 million.
Okay.
$1.7 million. This is according to Nebraska. Salary is supposed to increase further to $2.1 million by 2026. He's getting paid a lot of money to go to Texas A&M. Everyone in Nebraska is completely stunned by this. And I think the feeling in Nebraska is sort of like when Scott Frost did not win and, in fact, sucked as Nebraska head coach. The thought from Husker fans was, if not Scott Frost, then who? I mean, the guy's from Wood River, Nebraska. He took UCF to an undefeated season, and he gets here and he forgets how to coach. I mean, there was a lot of, not resentment, because that's not how Nebraska people operate. There was a lot of questioning their greater spot in sport. Hey, are we just destined to suck for a long time? Does no one want to come here? Does no one want to stay here? How on earth can we be this bad with Scott Frost, the crown jewel of the coaching search cycle that offseason? They landed him. They got him. He sucked. And Nebraska sucked under Scott Frost. And now Trev Alberts, former Nebraska football hero, leaving for Texas A&M. Here was my first reaction. It's why I laugh cynically at Nick Saban and administrators in college sports with the NCAA and anyone else bemoaning the fact that, it's just changed so much in the last 2 years. I'm getting hit up so much now about money. All the players want to know about is how much they're getting paid. They don't care about anything else. And I got into this for player development and for loyalty and for teamwork and everything else. And then you see a story that Trev Alberts is leaving for A&M from Nebraska for what? Top dollar. More money. The same thing the powers that be in college sports bitch about constantly that players are asking for. And it's going to destroy the sport. All of this combined is eventually going to destroy something that we love. And I can't sit by and not point out the hypocrisy of Trev Alberts or even Nick Saban or others when they bring this up. I don't deny what they're saying. I'm sure they're telling the truth when they talk about this. But, I mean, come on. You couldn't have got a raise from Nebraska? Is there more to this story? Was he at odds with the administration? Could you have not gone back and gotten a little bit more money from the Cornhuskers? It's a very strange story and a weird move to me.
Yeah, I want to see and hear his presser to see. And he's not going to admit anything down Nebraska in that angle. But there's got to be something to this.
Well, if he comes in with this, it was just such a unique opportunity. And
that's
the
what I mean.
SEC and top. And come on, man.
Yeah.
You're in one of the two conferences that matter. You're already there. You're on equal footing with the SEC.
Yes.
With money coming in from the television networks to the Big Ten. You hired Matt Rule. Yeah, I mean, come on. Like, I don't want to hear all of that. Like, this was a very good opportunity for me. Kind of like Brian Kelly going to LSU and immediately like, all right, now I finally have a shot to win a national title. No, clown. You had a shot to win the national title when you played Alabama in the national championship game with Notre Dame. That was your chance. You've had opportunities every year at Notre Dame. Don't give me this. Right. Now I have the resources in the conference that make things possible. You're in the Big Ten. I feel bad for Nebraska fans, and it's just a weird story. I want to know more. We'll get Billy Lucci on at some point and talk more about the search and what led them to Trev Alberts and why they think Trev Alberts is worth this much money based on what he's done in Nebraska. But the bigger part of the story to me is, what does it say about Trev Alberts and his relationship with Nebraska? Weird move.
I wonder if he put his name in the hat for Ohio State prior to.
You know what I mean?
Probably.
Probably.
Because that's where A&M's AD went, right? Ohio State.
Yep.